The man looks down and sees a bottle lying on the road. He bends down to pick it up. A poor woman suddenly shoves the man who is picking up the bottle and says apologetically, "That bottle is mine. Please forgive me." The man says angrily, "How could you shove me like that? What are you doing? What are you going to do with that empty bottle?" The woman says defensively, "What are you talking about?" Then she grabs the bottle and runs away. The accountant asks worriedly the secretary, "Are you okay?" The secretary replies calmly, "I'm okay." Then the accountant says thoughtfully, "That woman looked kind of familiar." The secretary says seriously, "Familiar? Anyway, I have something to do. You go back to the office first, okay?" The accountant says politely, "Yeah, okay." The secretary follows the woman. She sits down in front of a dumpster and starts pulling bottles out of it. Then she looks up at him and says suspiciously, "Why are you following me?" The man says quietly, "She looks exactly the same." The woman says angrily, "What are you doing? Don't think that just because you gave me one bottle, you can do whatever you want with me." The man says politely, "Miss, you misunderstood. The truth is, our company has a lot of bottles. Would you like some?" The woman says cautiously, "Of course I would. Why wouldn't I? But let me make one thing clear. Don't get any wrong ideas about me." The man says calmly, "All right, wait here. I'll go get them for you right now." The secretary calls the boss and says urgently, "Where are you? There's something I need to show you." The boss says anxiously, "Where is she?" The secretary replies nervously, "She's right here. But boss, you've been searching for this woman for so many years. How could she possibly be a woman collecting bottles?" The boss says firmly, "You don't need to worry about that. Go bring the things I prepared for her. They're in the safe." The secretary says obediently, "Okay." The poor woman talks on the phone and says reassuringly, "Doctor, don't worry. I work 3 jobs during the day, and sometimes I even take extra shifts. I'll definitely save enough money for the treatment. Okay, don't worry." The businessman says sadly, "How did she end up like this after all these years? What happened? Is something wrong?" The woman thinks to herself, "Where am I going to get money for my daughter's treatment?" Then the woman says defensively, "What happened? Do you have a problem with me?" The businessman says emotionally, "Don't you recognize me?" The woman says confusedly, "No, I don't recognize you." The businessman says emotionally, "Hello, miss. Think carefully. About 5 years ago, I was in terrible shape. I'm that same person. Think back to the time when you helped me and gave me some money. Remember?" A little girl says excitedly,
Big sister!
The wealthy woman says kindly, "Hey, young man, why are you sleeping out here all alone in this freezing weather?" The young man says sadly, "I came to the city looking for work, but when I got off the train, my wallet and phone were stolen. I had no money and I couldn't find a job. It's freezing cold and I've been hungry for days." The wealthy woman says generously, "I can't help you much, but I have a card here. There's $60,000 on it. Take it. Buy yourself some decent clothes. Go to the job market, find work, and build a good life for yourself." The young man says gratefully, "Thank you. Can you give me your contact information? Once I start making money, I'll definitely pay you back. I'll never forget your kindness." The wealthy woman says warmly, "There's no need. When you become successful in the future, just pass this kindness on to someone else." The young man says emotionally, "It was you! You've changed so much. I didn't even recognize you. Everything I have today is because of the help you gave me back then. Otherwise, I would never have reached this point in life. I just heard you talking about medical expenses. What happened?" The poor woman says sadly, "My sister got sick 2 years ago, and her husband turned out to be a terrible person. He abandoned her and ran away. She's my real sister. If I don't take care of her, then who will? I spent all my savings on her treatment, but medical expenses just keep growing faster and faster." The businessman says curiously, "I remember you were doing pretty well back then. Why didn't you get a stable job?" The poor woman says helplessly, "Yes, I was doing well before, but even mountains of gold and silver eventually run out. My sister is seriously ill, and I have to go to the hospital all the time. What company would hire someone who asks for time off every other day? That's why I quit my job and started doing freelance work instead. Now I work 3 jobs a day. From the way you talk, it sounds like you went through some really hard times too." The businessman says honestly, "Actually, I've been looking for you all these years." The poor woman says surprisingly, "You were looking for me? Why? Don't tell me you wanted to pay that money back. I already told you back then there was no need to repay me. Just pass the kindness forward. By the way, did you ever get into a relationship over the years?" The businessman says awkwardly, "A relationship? I've been way too busy with work for that." The poor woman says hurriedly, "Oh no, it's getting late. I can't keep talking. I need to go deliver food." The businessman says curiously, "Wait a minute. You're going through so much hardship, so how are you still this positive?" The poor woman says calmly, "What's the point of being sad all the time? Should I cry in front of every single person I meet?" The businessman says thoughtfully, "That's how I've always lived saved my life. Then the secretary arrives carrying a file and a card and says nervously, "Boss, wait a second. Actually, this is the $5 million bank card you prepared, and this is the villa property file. Here you go." The boss says calmly, "All right, you can head back now." Then he turns to the poor woman and says gratefully, "If you hadn't helped me back then, I wouldn't be where I am today. That's why I'm still deeply grateful to you. By the way, I already put your name on the villa property papers, and this card, I prepared all of this for you. Here, take it." The poor woman says politely, "No, I know you're a big boss now, but there's no need to give me something this huge. Back then, I was in a better position than you were. Anyone would have helped you in that situation, and I didn't help you so you could repay me someday. There's a saying, when you drink water, never forget the person who dug the well. Please keep these things. No, they're far too valuable. I really can't accept them." The businessman says sincerely, "All right, if you don't want to take these things, then I'll go to the hospital with you and pay for your sister's medical treatment instead. By the way, my secretary interrupted me earlier. Are you still single?" The poor woman says teasingly, "You became a big boss, but your memory is still terrible. I literally just told you. I can barely even find work these days, so who would want to date me?" The businessman says hopefully, Right. Look, you're single, and I'm single too, so do you think there could be a chance for us?" The poor woman says nervously, "Are you joking? You're a big boss now, and I have way too many responsibilities at home. I'm not good enough for you." The businessman says emotionally, "What's wrong with that? If you hadn't helped me back then, I wouldn't be where I am today. And the moment fate brought us together that day, everything was already decided." But the woman still says worriedly, "You're a big boss now. I really don't think I'm worthy of someone at your level. And if you truly want to be with me, your family probably wouldn't approve." The businessman says confidently, "Why are you worrying about them?